Well, folks, as you can see, I have Roger Harkness with me again. And yes, this is the third day in a row I've been making a video with somebody else, first Aristo, and then Valentine, and now Roger. And Roger's going to talk about an interesting subject. The title is Satan is Real. Roger, why do you think Satan is real?
Well, there's a lot of things that that happen in this world that make no sense at all, that make you believe that Satan exists. For instance, people who commit tiny little crimes, they get arrested, they get put in jail, they get fines. But people who commit huge, big crimes never get caught. And mostly they're politicians. They don't get caught. They get away with a lot of stuff.
Well, they're only you do understand, and a lot of people need to realize this. The politicians are just the people that we see playing the roles. They're behind that. There are people that control the financial system and everything else. And the financial system from the beginning was set up as an enslavement mechanism. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of money was to enslave people by not letting them know that they were being enslaved. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I needed to throw that in there. Go ahead.
Sure. No, but I mean, things go on and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not logical. For instance, Confucius could not understand how it was that foolish people were always rulers, and the wise ones who would probably be the better rulers were often the poor people. And this confused Confucius very much. He just could not understand this. And that's an example where something is just going on. It just doesn't make sense. But I had some experience in the Navy. I knew a man who called himself the son of Satan. And, I told somebody about that once, and they kind of laughed. They thought that was a joke. But this was real. This was real.
He believed it.
He
was convinced that was who he was.
Well, he called himself the son of Satan. I don't really think he believed he was the son of Satan, but that's just what he called himself. But no, he was a real Satan worshiper. And you had these people running around. They belong to this Church of Satan, and they're fakes. They're just atheists who want to make a mockery of religion, so they call themselves the Satan Church, and they use this as a means to, like for instance, if Christians want public prayer, then they want public worship to Satan. It's just a fight thing that they use. And as a matter of fact, here in Oklahoma, we were forced to have a statue of their Satan, satanic statue in the Capitol building because we had, I think, a statue of the cross or something. We had the Ten Commandments there. So because we had the Ten Commandments there, they had to bring in a statue of I can't remember his name, but that beast with the horns. And so, we ended up taking down the Ten Commandments, and they took down their little statue. So this is the game they play, and this is why they exist. But they're not really Satan worshipers. They're atheists. And I remember I had a discussion with this a friend of mine who was a witch, and I'm kind of a witch. I can't really call myself that because I have a lot to learn, and I just never had a chance to take those courses yet. But I had a discussion with her, and she was defending these people because they have this set of rules that seem so righteous and so wonderful that they follow. But I explained to her, I says, but look what they're doing. They're pretending to be Satan worshipers, and they don't even believe in God. That's pretty dishonest. And so how can that be a virtue? But the argument ended there. But your real Satan worshipers, they won't tell you that they worship Satan. Of course, I knew about it because I was in the Navy, and that's a little different. We're real close to each other. But out here in the world, you wouldn't know them. Some of them probably go to church. Some of them are probably priests and ministers. And they worship, and politicians, And they worship in caves and basements, in the woods, not out in some church called the Church of Satan. So, and this is really, and this guy who called himself the son of Satan, there was a symbol he used to put everywhere. It would go something like this: a straight line, around, and then an arrow would point a certain direction. There's little lines on it. And from what I understand, wherever the arrow pointed, that was a protection. That was, and he had it inside of his hat and towards his bunk and everywhere. He put it every place. And this symbol, I've searched the internet and I have not found it anywhere. I'm
not familiar with it.
Yeah, I've not seen it anywhere. And so they're real secret. Everything they do is secret. But
well, we know that the whole government system is run by people that are not honorable, and much of what they do is secret, although more and more is being exposed. But nevertheless, they don't like the exposure, which is why they try to tighten down the hatch, as they say.
Which is exactly what they're doing, you know. But yeah, this is real, and he, you know, supposedly him and a friend had raped and murdered a prostitute in, I think it was Rota, Spain, and it said that he laughed about it. He just literally laughed, and he had this laugh that was just evil, that would just send chills down your spine. But I never really asked him about it, so I can't really say that that's true. But he did tell me about an old lady that him and his friends had murdered. And it scared him because he would have nightmares about it, about her reaching out to get him. But yeah, he was like two different people. And I was like, I was always stuck on watch with him. So it was really odd how we were always together. And at that time, I was a real fundamentalist Christian. I was like the King James Bible. You know, the King James Bible is the only word of God, and anything else is wrong. Then that was me. I believed that at that time. That was me.
Yeah, that was my training too. I don't believe it now.
No, I don't either. But I did then. And so we had this notebook, like on the bridge of the ship that everybody would write into, and I would always write scriptures in there. You know, Jesus this and Jesus that. And one night he wrote in there, Jesus sucks dicks in hell. And I was just angry, just really angry. And so here we are, we're on forward lookout watch again. And we always stood watch at night. And there his different personality would come out at that time, because he was scared to death of the dark. He was just literally frightened to death of the dark. And he would cry. He would cry. And this is where, on TV, Satan worshipers will never cry. You know what I'm saying? This is where the reality in real life and television is completely not at all the same. But he was really literally scared of the dark. And we always stood forward lookout together, and it was always at night. And often he would ask me to pray for him. He would confess things to me, and he would ask me to pray for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such a dichotomy there between what his expression was and then what was underneath that. Yeah,
he would change. But that night I was just really angry at him, and I says, no, I ain't going to pray for you. I says, you want to pray, you're going to have to do it yourself. And he says, I can't, I've never done, I don't know how to do it, et cetera, et cetera. And I says, well, you're just going to have to figure that one out, because I ain't doing it for you. And he almost broke down and cried. I mean, he literally did almost break down and cried, but I wasn't going to do it this time. But, time went on. He was a good guy, he was a bad guy, he was a good guy, he was a bad guy. It'd always go like that. Time had went on, and his mother had died. And his mother was the last person in his immediate family. And so at that time, I mean, if he wanted to, a helo could pick him up off the ship and take him to, make sure he gets to the funeral. But because it was that important, because you're the last remaining member of the family. But he refused. He didn't want to go. And when the cruise was over and we finally got to port, the first thing he did was hand was head out to the chaplain to visit the chaplain. And it was right after that that he became a Christian. And he explained to me that his mother was the last person to die and that he would have been next if he hadn't converted. He honestly believed that he would have been the next to die. But everyone in his family had died one by one. And he says that's what happens when you worship Satan. You die.
So did his mother worship Satan too?
His whole family.
Okay.
His whole family worshiped Satan. And and he would always tell me, he says, now when the time he was a Satan worshiper, he used to say, there's things, I can't tell you because I would get in trouble. And then after he converted to Christianity, he says, I wish I could tell you some things, but I'm afraid to. So even then he was afraid. But he always got away with things. Like he never had to stand after lookout. He could get out of work details. He could always, and he literally got away with murder. And he explained to me that this was because he was a follower of Satan. If you're a follower of Satan, you can get away with things. And if you think real hard, you can get almost anything you want. Like he would think about a cup of coffee and someone would bring him a cup of coffee. He'd think about a Coke and somebody would bring him a Coke, that kind of thing. And he can always get out of watches and work details, stuff like that. But after he became a Christian, I guess he smarted off to this officer. I have no idea what he did, but he smarted off to this officer, and he was written up for disrespect, and he was being court-martialed. And I met him when he was being court-martialed. And of course, you're never found innocent at a court-martial. Everybody who is court-martialed is guilty. I mean, that's a given. You're guilty. And they were going to send him to the brig, and he knew this. And then after that, he'd be discharged out of the Navy. So I met him at that time, and he had a big old smile on his face, which I was really surprised. I says, why are you happy? And he says, because I'm in trouble. He says, before I could never get in trouble, but now I'm in trouble. It means that Satan's no longer has control over me. And that made him really happy. That was really weird. He was just happy as could be to go to the brig. And it's really strange. He got away with so much. And then this time he gets smart with an officer and he gets in a lot of trouble here. That's kind of odd. But and even then, before he left to the brig, he says, before he was court-martialed, of course, we knew he was going to the brig. He warned me. He said, to be careful. He says, there are things I wish I could tell you, but, I'm afraid to. So I really don't know a lot. And my cat's about to get in my way here.
I see the kitty. Hi, kitty. Well.
But yeah, so I guess I got to get that door. No, she's okay. All right.
So anyway, you said at the beginning that you're actually a witch. Did I hear you correctly?
I'm not a witch. Because I haven't really practiced enough, and I haven't really studied enough. I don't know enough about it. But I call myself one because the law really, they only have really only one law, and that law is harm. Do as you will, but harm none. So technically, I can call myself a witch if I want to, whether I'm qualified or not, because it's part of their law. But
that kitty wants to be in front of the camera.
Yeah, and
it's hogging the camera,
Yeah.
And she doesn't even meow for us. I mean,
no. The other ones, I have two cats. The other one's out, and I didn't realize she was in here when I closed the door. So, but she's in the window, so she'll be good for a while.
Okay,
anyway.
So you say that Satan is real, and you're using the illustration of this friend of yours who convinced you, I guess, because now he's getting in trouble when he becomes a Christian, and he was protected when he was a Satanist.
Right, right. Which you had mentioned in an earlier video that Hillary Clinton, worshipped Satan. Well, look at all the stuff she's getting away with. Think about that.
As she says, we came, they died. What difference does it make? And that's a quote. I mean, I saw her say it. Yeah. I saw many times that video shown over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was so bad that Obama had to get rid of her. I mean, because it was too much for Obama, but she was actually in charge of arming the terrorists in Syria. She was like, she pushed that and pushed that and pushed that. And Obama finally said, no, we can't do this anymore, and got her out of there. But yes, that was her thing. And if she had become president, who knows what she would have done? It would have been horrible. But
yeah, I regarding presidents, I have a lot of people that are still in the Trump camp. I'm still not convinced, because to me, the most satanic nation on earth is Israel. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are absolutely evil, and yet most fundamentalist and evangelical Christians think Israel becoming a nation is the fulfillment of some biblical prophecy. Mm-hmm. And it was not supposed to happen until Shiloh comes. That's the Messiah. I'm sorry, but the Messiah hasn't shown up yet, in my opinion, from my observation.
Yeah. You'll find that the Muslims and the Christians pretty much have the same beliefs about that, except the Christians might have it wrong. They might have misinterpreted it. But they really have about the same deal, because now I don't know. I think some Christians believe that the Antichrist is coming out of Israel. I think so, but they don't really. There's kind of fuzzy about that. The Antichrist is going to be the ruler of the world. They're real kind of fuzzy about where he's going to come from. But now the Muslims believe that and they call it Dajjal, is going to come out of Israel. And
it
makes perfect sense.
The United States is run by people from Israel. I mean, they have totally infiltrated the U.S. government, and they control the media. They control the news organizations. They control
Hollywood.
The politics, and of course, international banking is the House of Rothschild. They're the public face of the international bankers. Now, of course, that I said public face. Mm-hmm. There's entities behind them that we may not even know the names if we heard them, because they're that secretive.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they got a pretty tight control. So yeah, the Muslims and like I said, Muslim Christians kind of believe pretty similar, but I think the Christians may have misinterpreted some things.
Well, I've never been to a Muslim service, but I have had Muslim services, as I've said in other videos, in my home when I was having meetings in my home. The Muslim imam, I think it was 3 or 4 times, the Muslim imam came and presented things, and then the ladies wanted to know, because they were concerned about the women covering their face. So we actually had some of the women from the Muslim mosque. I guess that's what it's called. We had them come and present from their religion from their point of view. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've always been reaching out, trying to build bridges, because love to me is in all of them. And even in early Muslim, just like things in the Bible shifted at certain points, things in the Quran shifted. I mean, in the beginning, it was much more peaceful and stuff, and much more militant toward the end. Mm-hmm. So you can see the shift in what's being presented as the truth. And it's not consistent.
No, because it's like what's going, like women aren't allowed to read, or women aren't allowed to be educated. And that goes completely the opposite direction of what Muhammad taught. Muhammad taught that all young girls should read. That's what he taught. And
his wife was 10 years older than him or something like that.
Yeah.
And she was very well educated and very influential in the creation of the Quran.
Yeah. So that just this whole terrorist thing just goes completely against a lot of things that Muhammad taught. So, but
Well, there's two main schools of Muslim too. And I mean, you go back to Rumi and Hafiz, and they were very peaceful, they were bridge builders. They were loving.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones that come out of Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, totally the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's night and day.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Yeah. But just before we started here, I thought, let me search Satan. So I did. And this music video pops up. And it's called Satan is Real. That was the name of the video, Satan is Real. And so I watched it, I watched part of it anyways. It's a heavy metal band. But it shows this priest. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's where Satan's at. He hides. He pretends to be an angel of light, and he goes to all religions. The Catholic, the Muslims, the Catholic, the witchcraft. All religions, and that's where you'll find him. But you'll find God there too. And there's always this battle going on in all your religions, and then none of them are perfect because Satan's there inside of each one of them. So there you go.
Well, is the dark energy also inside of each one of us? That was what came up in some of the discussion today, which again was a Hindu meeting, and the two speakers were the former pastors of a black church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Christian church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an argument where Satan doesn't really exist. Satan is actually a part of us because all of us are, have our dark side and stuff. The only thing that, I agree with that we're influenced. We might be influenced by Satan, but I don't completely agree with that theory because it's too well organized. The satanic stuff that goes on in this world is just too well organized. So it couldn't happen by accident. And if we were all satanic and if Satan was within us, it would be we would fumble through, wouldn't be so well organized. So there is
it's definitely political more than it is spiritual. And
yeah.
It's interesting that those are the two subjects that they do not want us to talk about. We're not supposed to explore
finance,
anything to do with politics or religion. Those are taboo subjects. Those are the two subjects where everything is messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I don't want, but there is that scripture where, and I think we mentioned this once before, but there is that scripture where, Jesus was tempted by Satan, and Satan says, if you worship me, all the leaders of the earth will bow down to you, or serve you or whatever. I can't remember the exact quote, but there's proof right there that all the rulers of the earth are under satanic rule. And there's a lot, they all work together. It doesn't look like they're all working together, but they're all working together.
Well, there
is some breakup though. There is a fight going on.
Yeah, and there's the evidence of it is that they're trying to tighten down the screws more and more and more to take away freedoms of speech, freedom of right to a trial by jury. They're putting people in prison that don't even have they don't even offer them a fair trial. Military tribunals are not fair trials.
Mm-hmm. That's. Now, see, some people are going to probably watch this if they haven't already, and they're going to think, oh, they believe in this red man with a pitchfork, just like God, I don't believe that Satan is an entity. It's a force which has just exists, a force in the world that exists. And Muhammad described the Dajjal, claiming that he met the Dajjal or saw the Dajjal or whatever. It says he only has one eye.
Cyclops.
Yeah. And now there's this Sheikh Imran Hussein. I don't know if I said that right, but he's really famous. He's really smart. He's done a lot of studying. But according to the way he interprets that is to mean that the Antichrist, or the spirit of Antichrist, as he calls it, has one eye, and it can only see physical things. It can't see the inside. It can't see spiritual things. It can only see the physical things. Whereas us, who may be believers, we have two eyes. We can see the physical things, but we can also see the spiritual things and the inside things, the things within that, go out.
Well, the Cyclops thing, when you said that, I mean, I remembered immediately the words of Jesus, if your eye be single, your whole being shall be filled with light.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's another apparent paradox.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. That's true. But all the governments want to, or the authorities, we'll just say the authority, wants to tighten all creativity, free thinking down. They want everybody on the straight and narrow to see things a certain way and no other way can it be seen. This is what they're trying to do, like with this fake news thing now in Facebook. This is it, and if you don't follow this, you're off, you're out. And
some of the people that have been taken off of Facebook and YouTube are being put back on. So
yeah.
There's
a battle going on.
It's going back and forth like a yo-yo.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a battle going on. And I think Donald Trump is part of that battle. And he may not be the greatest person in the world, but I think he is a part of it. And he may not even know it. I don't know, but I think he's a part of it. Because they wanted, Hillary Clinton to be president. They wanted her to be president. And we said no. And we made Trump president. Now, Trump ain't the greatest guy in the world, I will admit, but it's a tiny little baby step forward.
Well, it's interesting. I have people in the metaphysical community that, especially the women, many women were for Hillary because she was a woman. And they cannot see, they're blinded by anything about Hillary, only that she's a woman, and they wanted a woman to be able to rise to a powerful position. Of course, that's already happened in certain places in Europe. We know that.
Yeah. Do you remember the lady in Pakistan? She was running for president. She was really smart, but they killed her. I don't know why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah, there's definitely stories along that line that they don't want women to be outspoken. They want to keep them veiled, and it's crazy. And to me, it's crazy. To them,
the people loved her. She was loved. Wouldn't have been killed. She would have been it. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but
I really don't remember her being killed. I remember stories though of people from Pakistan and from that area that have had some real awakenings. And there are Zionist Jews in Israel that are against what the Israeli government is pushing.
Oh yeah,
even former generals in one case. So it's real. The dynamics that are taking place right now are interesting at the very least.
Yeah, it's hard to know who to believe, because I read this one story about these women in Israel are protesting, and then the public they want Gaza wiped off the face of the map. Well, 3 months ago, I heard about all these women protesting that they want us to be friends with the Palestinians. So what's really going on? It's really hard to tell.
There's a dichotomy there, even in Israel, and some people have gone to jail apparently for speaking out against the Zionist message of separation. There's, as I said, even one of the generals and the general's son are now very outspoken. And I've watched some videos by them. So anyway, there's a lot of interesting things happening. And, when you said you wanted to talk about Satan in the video, I thought, well, that's going to be interesting. And then, as I said, that came up in our talk today, but I see that the 30 minutes is pretty much drawing to a close. It's now closed.
Okay.
So anyway, do you, let me. I want to give you a chance to make final comments. I don't want to be the one that ends the speaking.
Well, I just want to say, I wished that this guy I knew who was claimed to be the son of Satan and now became a Christian. I wished he would have shared some of the things with me so that I might know a little bit more, because I really don't know a lot. I only experienced, what I did through him. But
And you've never been in touch with him since.
No, I haven't seen him since then.
And do you remember his name? You don't need to say his name, but you remember his name?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, you might want to do a search and see if you can find some way of connecting with him. That's just a suggestion. You can take it or leave it. It would be interesting to see what happened in his life subsequent to his conversion.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I imagine he'd probably thinking, well, maybe I was a little bit crazy back then. Maybe I had something, but maybe I was a little bit crazy. Because I'm not afraid of Satan because maybe I'm stupid. I'm not afraid of Satan because I believe that I'm protected. But maybe I should be. I don't know. Maybe. According to him, I should be anyways. But
yeah. Okay. Well, do you feel complete for now?
No, I just want to say that there is a belief that good and evil are just different sides. Like, for instance, the wolf was created to kill the bunny rabbit, and the bunny rabbit is good and the wolf is bad, but they're both creations. They both have a purpose and a reason. And I believe all that. But the evil in this world is very well organized, while the goodness in this world probably isn't that well organized and should be. And so that's the difference. And that's why there's something that does exist that's evil that rules this world. And that's the difference.
Right.
I'll end it with that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Roger. I really appreciate it. And sorry I wasn't connecting with you for a while, but I really wasn't connecting with a lot of people for a little while.
I understand.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Namaste.